and welcome to News Now. I'm your host, Taylor Inman. We're going over the biggest headlines this week for Northwest Montana. The U.S. Senate on Thursday unanimously passed one of the largest outdoor recreation packages aimed at supporting public lands and bolstering the nearly $1.2 trillion outdoor recreation industry. The Expanding Public Lands Outdoor Recreation Experiences, or EXPLORE Act, passed the House in April and includes more than a dozen individual bills that will enact sweeping policy changes around public lands and recreation, including streamlining permitting processes, funding parks and green spaces, and modernizing technology to enhance visitor experiences. Among the suite of bills comprising the bipartisan legislation package were several measures championed by Montana's congressional delegation. Republican Senator Steve Daines said he was proud to see his bipartisan bills pass the U.S. Senate and head to the president's desk to be signed into law, adding that his package includes major wins for Montana's beautiful public lands. One of the bill's major policy initiatives is the Gateway Community and Recreation Enhancement Act, which was introduced by Daines in the Senate and co-sponsored by Montana's Representative Ryan Zinke, a Republican from the Western District, in the House. The measure focuses on gateway communities near population recreation areas, like the towns near the west entrance to Glacier National Park, to address increased visitation to national parks and public lands and housing shortages in nearby communities. The Gateway Communities Bill also establishes a pilot program to provide real-time visitation data for public lands in order to promote lesser visited sites during times of high congestion. It requires public land management agencies to collaborate with local stakeholders to address economic needs, including housing shortages and infrastructure deficiencies related to increased visitation, and creates a Digital America the Beautiful National Park and Public Lands Pass to make visitor access easier. Another part of the EXPLORE Act, co-sponsored by Daines and Montana's Democratic Senator Jon Tester, was the Simplifying Outdoor Access for Recreation Act, aimed at streamlining the permitting process for public lands. Among the change to the recreational permitting processes are directives for federal agencies to rely on existing environmental reviews for the assurance of permits, develop or expand existing categorical exclusions or exemptions, and prohibit needs assessments with the exceptions for wilderness for issuing special recreation permits. Agencies are also urged to eliminate duplicate processes and decrease costs for permits, which Daines said will benefit Montana outfitters and guides who operate across multiple land agencies. To address housing shortages in communities near popular recreation sites, a section of the EXPLORE Act will allow the Department of the Interior to enter into agreements with local governments to, quote, develop, construct, rehabilitate, or manage housing and adjacent to NPS lands for rent to field employees and members of the public. President Joe Biden is expected to sign the bill into law before the end of his term. The Montana Department of Corrections is suing Flathead County for refusing to allow a pre-release center to operate in Evergreen. The state has filed a lawsuit in Flathead County District Court alleging that the County Board of Adjustments, which voted on October 1st to deny a conditional use permit for the center, quote, abused its discretion when it acted beyond its legal authority and, quote, and also responded to speculation lacking in facts and foundation as part of the decision. The Department of Corrections has sought to turn the former Greenwood Village Inn and Suites Hotel on East Oregon Street into a 90-bed pre-release facility. The Montana legislature last year set aside $7.1 million in funding for a pre-release center in Kalispell. The county commissioners supported the center in a vote required under state law. However, the County Board of Adjustments turned it down following board discussions that law enforcement services are inadequate to serve the center, that the center would have a negative impact on the neighborhood, and that the site could not accommodate the traffic associated with the center. In the lawsuit filed October 31st by attorneys Andres Holliday and Charity N. Yonker, the state alleges that the board abused its discretion by denying the permit, making unsupported findings regarding its decision, and violated due process by failing to consider all public comments made before county commissioners, not just select comments. The state is asking for the court to reverse the board's denial and order the assurance of a permit for the center. During a Montana Legislature Public Safety Interim Budget Committee meeting on December 16th, Brian Gutkin, Department of Corrections Director, referenced the lawsuit, saying that the department isn't done with a facility in the Flathead, is in negotiations with the county, and said he is optimistic about finding a resolution. Residents living near the hotel expressed concerns about the center, including the potential for an increase in crime. However, business owners said during public hearings they would welcome hiring individuals residing at the center. The state, in outlining its position in the lawsuit, alleges that the board unreasonably concluded that law enforcement services are lacking because the board, quote, did not receive any such evidence, facts, or testimony from the Flathead County Sheriff's Office, end quote. It also asserts that the board allegedly reached outside its bounds when it discussed comments by Sheriff Brian Haino before the county commissioners meeting, when he said he sees the need for a pre-release center but had general concerns. The board allegedly ignored testimony from the Department of Corrections that the center would have an extra layer of security because a state probation and parole satellite office would be located at the center, according to documents. The suit states that one board member speculated that there could be a financial impact to the surrounding property owners because of the center, but the board had no evidence to back that up. In addition, it notes that one board member allegedly opposed the center based on public health and well-being when there are no criteria in county zoning regarding that. Finally, the board noted concerns about the impact of traffic on the center as a reason for denial, but the lawsuit says the hotel at the site generates 376 average daily trips, while the center would only generate 104 average daily trips. The lawsuit alleges that the board made its decision by, quote, unreasonably relying on speculation lacking in fact and foundation, end quote. There are 10 pre-release centers in the state. However, there are none serving northwest Montana, and the Department of Corrections says the area needs a facility based on the region's population. Figures show that about 130 offenders in June were in centers around the state from the Flathead area. Pre-release centers are designed to assist offenders with their transition from a secure facility back into the community and provides an alternative to incarceration. While in the pre-release center, residents live at the facility but travel out in the community according to an approved schedule for work, education, treatment and counseling, and community service. A partnership between Glacier National Park and Columbia Falls High School students continues to pay dividends for both the Park Service and the students as it heads into its 6th year. To date, students in the Building Trades program have constructed a dozen structures for Glacier, including 6 cabins and other buildings like entrance stations. The entrance station on the Camas Road, for example, was built by students. The cabins are used for Park Service employee housing. The class is taught by Bob Jellison, a carpenter for the Park Service, and Manalo Victor, an industrial arts teacher at the high school. This year, the class is building a 2-bedroom employee housing cabin for Mini Glacier, and perhaps more impressively, they're building a timber frame cabin that will house trail crews near Granite Park Chalet. The timber frame building is actually too big for the shop, so the students, under the tutelage of Jellison and Victor, are carefully making it in pieces one wall at a time. It'll then be hauled into the high country this summer for final assembly by Park Service crews. Granite Park is perched on the Continental Divide about 4 miles east of the Going to the Sun Road. There are no roads to it, only trails. The Classroom to Park program, which Glacier adopted from similar programs in Alaska and other parks, was initially spearheaded by Jim Foster, the facilities manager for Glacier. Students learn all aspects of what amounts to home construction, from the floor to the roof, to siding and everything in between, like plumbing and electrical. When the employee cabin is finished in the spring, it will be loaded onto a trailer and hauled to Mini Glacier. There, Park Service crews just have to hook up the utilities. The finished product is almost completely turnkey. The Park Service also has a summer apprenticeship program where a member of the class goes into the field and works side by side with Park Service carpenters restoring and repairing backcountry cabins and lookouts. The program is funded by the National Park Foundation, the Glacier National Park Conservancy, and School District 6. Thanks for joining us. News Now is a podcast from the Daily Interlake. We're proud to be the largest independent newsroom in Montana and the longest continuously published newspaper in the region. Local journalism is important, and subscribing to your local newspaper is one of the best things you can do for your community. The Daily Interlake is celebrating its 135th birthday with a special subscription offer of only $19.50 per month for a home-delivered newspaper, plus full digital access to all 8 of our award-winning independent newspapers. Give us a call at 406-755-7018 to sign up today and do your part to keep community journalism alive and thriving. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel to never miss an episode of the pod. Everybody stay safe and have a great week. Thanks to our sponsor, Lauren's Auto Repair at 1309 US Highway 2 in Kalispell. Most consistently rated 5-star shop serving the Kalispell area. Visit lawrensauto.com.